So what I'm going to talk about now is the process of learning about improving your holiday season. Here's a way to think of the whole process that we're going through, and it's only about 5 or 6 steps. We always begin with what's the goal? What would be the goal for your holiday season next year? What would be the key performance indicators? What would be the results you would want? And it might have to do with scheduling or frustration or go-backs or accidents or customer satisfaction and delight. But you and your team should spell out how you would like your holiday season to look next year. What result do you want next year? Next step is to create a plan about what you're going to do to achieve those goals. What steps will you take? After that, of course, comes action. This is the doing of the installation and the takedown and so forth. The next step is to measure how it actually went. And as you do the measuring, you will identify gaps between what you wanted and what you got. Those gaps are the foundation of learning how to do it better. Now, one of the things that may have happened this year is that you didn't even have this spelled out. In the same way that we have talked about spelling out the vision or the mission or the objectives of what you want in your whole business, it is equally true that you have the same picture spelled out about what you want in your holiday season. That's something that you could begin writing right now for next year. A couple of paragraphs. How do you want it to be next year? What result do you want to have? What outcomes do you want to have? Go to work on that. When that's done, we're going to come back and look at this year, because you already have gaps. They might not be as formal as you would identify if you had actually set goals and seen what actually happened. But I would like you and your team, in fact everybody on your team who was involved with Holiday, to make an extensive and exhaustive list about what happened. And this simply means bringing everybody together, sitting them down, telling them you want to figure out how to do Christmas better next year, and that, or holiday next year, and that you'd like everybody to start writing down all the things that were potential improvement points. We call them PIPs, potential improvement points, things that they saw that they felt could have been better somehow. So everyone makes their own individual list. 5 or 10 minutes. Now someone, where people like me earn their living, becomes the facilitator and goes up to a chart and starts here and says, give me one. I write it. Now I go to the next person. Give me one. I write it. If yours is already up there, no need to repeat it. Just cross it off. We're not voting. Go all the way around the group. Now ask, do we have any more? Yes. Go. Pass. I don't have any more. Okay? And we keep going around and listing these on the flip chart until everyone is dry. Until everyone says pass, 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 pass. And then you might ask them, is there anything possible we could be doing better next year that we didn't do as well this year? That should go on the list. Anything you'd like to see changed, improved, make sure it's on the list. You can also often squeeze out a few more at this point. So that's how you collect your gaps. And there's 2 things here. 1, we need the gaps, and 2, we want everybody, every stakeholder who was involved. If you had part-timers, bring them back for an hour. Do this. do this, or at least bring some part-timers back. You may not need to have everybody in the room, but you certainly want a representative of every viewpoint, positive and negative, in that circle as you collect this, because there is huge knowledge here that no one person can see by themselves. Now you have a choice, and this is always a choice when a gap appears. You can go this way or this way. If you started out with this kind of collection, it's likely you'll go this way, which will lead you to learning. Over here, what happens when you see a gap, a shortfall, a problem, something that doesn't work, is that the first kind of internal response is frustration, some kind of upset. When you see it the second, third, fourth time, or when you see someone doing it the second, third, or fourth time, often this goes into some a little higher level, anger. Ultimately, at some point down here, what happens is you're looking for who to blame. You want the satisfaction of burning someone at the stake, as if that would fix things. If you even take a step in this direction, then what happens is the trust, the openness, go. And you can't even do this very well. Coming over in this direction, what you're going to do is collect the data. That's kind of what we started up here. I just jumped the gun on this. This is very much like any crime scene TV show. CSI or Law and Order or NCIS. You must be addicted to one of those, or at least have seen them. So the show always begins with a crime. It's called a gap. It's not the way it should be. What happens next is the crime scene investigators, the detectives, leave. They go to the scene of the crime. They go to collect the data. They go to the real place to see it. They talk to all the witnesses. Bop, 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 bop. They don't just sit in their office and theorize like managers do about what went wrong. They go out and collect the data. And often, in a good detective movie, the detective is misled and then surprised when they talk to a new witness or get a new piece of data. That's why we need to go collect the data from all the people and actually go to the scene of the crime. Sometimes it's valuable to see what actually happened, what it looks like there, how difficult it is to find the parking or get access to the building. Remember the little shtick that Paul did once when he dressed up like he was going to be a service technician, and he went out and he did it for a day, and he said, "Oh my God, I can't believe how challenging and difficult and confusing and frustrating it is." He went to the scene of the crime. That is one of the foundations of learning. Get out of your ivory tower or office, go to the scene of the crime. Again, involve the people who you want to change. Don't isolate yourself into a room and make a plan on how they will change. Involve them in the process of change. Okay, so we've collected the data and we've collected the people. Now, we ask these questions. What's it mean? What is this picture of all this stuff? Talk about it. Discuss it. Try to understand it more deeply. Try to understand which item caused other items here. Try to look for root causes, not just superficial causes. And eventually, after maybe half an hour, maybe after half a day, you ask this question. What can we do? What can we do to close the gap? What can we do to be better next year? So we're coming back to this initial kind of view here. We've identified the gaps. Now we come up. We may have, out of the gaps, we may have a better plan for next year. We might also decide to change our goals and up our goals, have a higher level or clearer and sharper goals. Now, in terms of getting better, I want you to consider everything. Better has to do with how you hire people, has to do with how you train people, how you equip people, how you schedule, and ultimately how you celebrate, reward, and encourage people. Those are just a beginning list of the things that you might consider in getting better. Now, one last piece to think about in this process. One way to look at all problems is this, that there's a root cause of a problem that often shows up as symptoms, which often lead to a crisis. We're not eating well and we're not exercising. No discomfort. In fact, it's more comfortable. Symptoms. We go to our doctor and they talk about high blood pressure or cholesterol. Still, it's not uncomfortable. Heart attack. A crisis. Finally, this breaks through the threshold and it shows up on our personal radar and it says we have to do something about it. Now, when you have a heart attack, you don't want someone lecturing you on nutrition and exercise. You want someone to arrest or stop the heart attack. You want to stop it from getting worse. So arrest or stop is the first thing you do with a problem. Second thing you do is you come back here and you try to solve. In solving the problem, we deal with the symptoms. We get symptomatic relief. Remember that. Symptomatic relief, you've heard that on TV, advertising almost every medical product. Symptomatic relief means we take medication. We take medication to deal with the symptoms. Have we solved the root cause? No. No, we haven't solved the root cause. And in fact, the medications don't fully deal with this. They just slow it down. In order to work at the root cause, now we have to resolve. We have to remove the root cause. We have to change the way we eat and exercise. If we don't do that, then this tends to stay in place. And of course, our symptomatic treatment over here often leads to unintended consequences where we create another crisis because we're allergic to the drugs. And now we have another symptomatic treatment, and we're caught in a loop over here, which is called managing, in reality, in most of your businesses. Leading, or real managing, is getting caught in a loop that goes like this, and then it springs to this loop. This is the loop that you're missing here. Coming back to figure out how to get better. Now I'm going to send recommendations for a book that's quite easy to read, written by Patrick Lencioni. It's not a book that we've talked about yet, that will help you install all of this in your business. So next year is dramatically different. But you have to take action now. If you don't do it now, before the end of the year, the chances of any of this happening are close to zero, and you'll be caught back over here. And when you're caught in that cycle over there, you will have times when you feel very successful, but you will also have times where you're tied up in frustration, anger, and blame because you're not getting better.